your host, Rob Blackman.
And hi, everyone. Good evening and welcome. Another Monday night means another evening to talk Purdue basketball. It is the Matt Painter Radio Show as we greet you live tonight from walk-ons here in the Purdue Memorial Union. Coach Painter Show brought to you tonight, as always, by GEMCO Constructors. I'm your host, Rob Blackman, and I thank you very much for joining us here on the first Monday in February. Let me throw this out there while I'm thinking about it. Not a whole lot of coaches' shows left, fans. Two more, as a matter of fact, after tonight, the next two Mondays here in February. And that will be it for the Coaches Show schedule here for the 2022-2023 season. So I bring that up because if you're someone who's been on the fence about maybe calling in the show, checking in with Coach Painter, you're running out of opportunities to do so. So tonight and then two more Mondays after tonight, and that will be it for the Coach Painter Show. So if you want to join us, this would be a good time. Here's the phone number, 1-888-246-2678, 1-888-246-2678. Lots to talk about with Coach Painter tonight. Two games that Purdue has played since we have last spoken. The 80-60 win on Wednesday night at Mackey Arena over Penn State, and then Purdue losing on Saturday against Indiana in Bloomington 79-74. Just the second loss of the season for Purdue. The Boilermakers are now 22-2 overall and 11-2 in the Big Ten. And in case you missed it earlier today, Purdue is still ranked number one in the country in the latest Associated Press poll despite the loss. So we'll talk to Coach Painter about those two games, and we'll look ahead to what is, of course, a busy week again this week in the Big Ten, as we should expect in February. Thursday night, Purdue at home against Iowa, and then Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, Purdue is on the road at Northwestern. So lots to talk about with Coach Painter tonight. Again, if you'd like to join the show, we would love to have you at 1-888-246-2678. This is the Matt Painter Show presented by GEMCO. This is the Purdue Global Sports Network, and Coach joins me next. This is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield.
Purdue's not going to know. I'm not sure Penn State's going to know. They're going to mix it up.
Well, Edey kept that possession alive. Morton misses, but Caleb first did not. They were pounding Edey. He gets another touch. Here comes the double. No whistle. Well, there is a whistle, and it's a defensive foul. Count the bucket.
Caliber a shooter that he is. I would have thought of him 5 or 6.
Great anticipation, Smith. And the finish.
See him down there by that left block, and he's just going to make a play on the ball and understands Lundy's coming.
Zach Edey hasn't put up a shot in 11 minutes of game action. Hard to believe. There is Gillis with another three. He already has a career-high 15.
Well, Penn State has shown so much attention to Zach Edey. Gillis, I am letting this thing fly immediately.
Everybody in this building wants one thing. Well, I guess that'll work.
That will do.
Purdue's defense focused so much on their offense, which is so spectacular, but their defense is also top 20 in the country. Kaufman-Wren lays it in.
No, he certainly is, and he's been a very good player in his time here in West Lafayette. Is one of those guys that has definitely sacrificed for the betterment of the team. My goodness.
And it's truly not out of the question, Rob, that he could return for next season.
He could. He totally could. Now, I don't see how he does not play in the NBA.
There's the Mackey record, 9 threes for Gillis. Well, and when a guy's putting on a performance like this, they appreciate it.
It is a terrific performance. Conzo Martin, Ryan Smith, myself, sorry about you. Mason Gillis coming through. He has been unconscious. That's your new Mackey Arena record holder. Regardless, the night he's having.
Instead, Edey throws it away. Winner.
Welcome back to the Matt Painter Show presented by GEMCO, live at walk-ons in the Purdue Memorial Union, where it's always game day with a taste of Louisiana. Rob Blackman here with the head coach of the Boilermakers, Matt Painter. Lots to talk about tonight, fans. Again, we encourage you to join us. Maybe the old-fashioned way over the radio, or if you want to join us and watch the video streaming, you certainly can do that at Purdue's YouTube page, the Twitter page, or the Facebook page as well. Coach Painter, let's start with this. I thought you had an interesting comment following the loss Saturday at Indiana when you said, and I'm paraphrasing obviously, you have a player that has 33 points, 18 rebounds, you out-rebound the opponent by 16. Normally, you expect to win those games.
And you shoot 52% from the field.
And you shoot better than 50% from the field.
Yeah.
Turnovers really did you in, didn't they?
Yeah, and the free throws. Mm-hmm. I think those are the two areas that you'd like to have back. And I thought Indiana did a good job in pressuring us into the turnovers. They can't take credit for us missing free throws, though.
Yeah.
So you can't get guarded at the free throw line. But those two areas is where, especially the free throws, like we're number one in the Big Ten in conference in free throw percentage, and you got to make people pay. And we got some opportunities that we let slide right there, and then we just didn't take care of the basketball. We played like our hair was on fire in the first half.
11 first-half turnovers, only 5 in the second half, and no surprise, that's when your team got back in the game, when you took care of the ball in the second 20 minutes.
Yes, and just giving yourself a chance. And we had some guys come off the bench, make some shots. Obviously, Zach was establishing himself down low, and anytime you're getting that, Braden, even though he didn't have a great night scoring, he was in that paint, a lot. And, that's what we needed. We needed him driving the basketball. 2 or 3 of those misses got, put back in. But like we were getting into the paint, we made some shots there and obviously established Zach, but we couldn't get the key stops. And that's what you had to get, especially late. We had to get some key stops.
You often talk about this. You're such a good offensive rebounding team. 17 offensive rebounds in that Indiana game. It really is a matter of you can just get the ball up on the rim, right? If you don't turn it over, you're going to have a great chance at scoring.
Yeah, and a lot with Zach is it's being able to set good screens and be able to attack off the dribble. Because if his man's got to help, we always talk to those guys about you absolutely can't get your shot blocked. You're trying to make a shot, but you absolutely can't get it blocked. Because if they're going to come after you and you miss it, we have a really good percentage that, especially those soft shots at the rim, he's going to get that and put it back in.
Let's go to the phones. Again, the number of fans is 1-888-246-2678. And tonight we begin, as we often do, with Drew calling in from Raleigh, North Carolina. Drew, welcome to the show.
Hey, Coach. Congrats on another great week. I know, it's tough taking a loss in a rivalry game, but still thought it was a really, really good effort and really good game from everybody. My question tonight, there's been several end-of-first-half situations this year where you've had fouls to give and have had success taking that approach to disrupt, the offense's ability to score.
Right.
The game doesn't end on a bucket there, but last year against St. Peter's in the same situation, it didn't seem to give them some momentum heading into halftime when they scored late.
Yes.
In the press conference, you mentioned, that you wish you would have called a timeout on the possession at the end of the game where you had some trouble getting a look offensively.
Yes.
I think being generous, I might know 0.1% of what you know about basketball, so I was just wondering if you could talk a bit about what your process is internally in situations like that.
Right.
What your own rules are and where you're trying to decide what the best decision to make is for the moment. And hindsight always seems to be 20/20.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, really good points. At the St. Peter's at the half, we had fouls to give, and I didn't hear it from our assistant coaches. And they were saying it. They were trying to say it to the player that was guarding the basketball, and we just botched it. But I didn't hear him. And I was just, locked in on talking to him, and I didn't recognize it. And our assistants were screaming, and so we blew that one. But anytime you have fouls to give in those situations, it makes sense for the most part. It's not a cure-all. But now they got to set back up. They can run something out of the side, especially if you have multiple fouls to give. You're just trying to chop into their time. The thing I don't like with it is you're like, hey, get a foul, and you don't think much about it, but then, someone has one foul, and then they go and they get their second. Well, now you got to pull them out at that time at the end of the first half, and now, they get a couple quick ones in the second half. Now you're like, well, they got 4 fouls. If they wouldn't have had to take a foul, they'd only have 3 at that point. So there's a little bit of a downside to it. You got to strategically be able to say, hey, we got to get a foul. But then if Zach Edey has 1 foul, you don't want him to get his second foul right there. You prefer him to never foul right there, no matter how many he has. But I think that's something you just got to kind of communicate, but you also got to know who's out there and how many fouls they have, and you don't want somebody moving closer to trouble there, especially if they have 1 to get to 2, then they get a couple quick ones. You don't think much about, well, it's just 2 fouls, no big deal. It is if they get 2 in that second half. So That's kind of how we look at that. And the other piece of your question was, I know you asked something else, but I'm
end of game, you were talking about how you
I totally
should have taken the timeout.
I should have taken the timeout. Maybe in 2 different occasions because we get the offensive rebound. Definitely should have got the timeout after the offensive rebound. I just thought Zach was settling, and they were spread out, and we had a couple opportunities to get it in my mind. I go back and look at the tape, and they weren't that good of opportunities. I normally call that, and I wanted to call it, and I just didn't. We've played on this year a couple times, and we've had success. We've called timeouts at those things, and we had success, but I just botched that. I should have called it.
Drew, thank you for the phone call. Lots of phone callers lining up tonight, so Chuck, please stay on the line. You'll be next when we come back. This is the Matt Painter Show presented by GEMCO on the Purdue Global Sports Network, and this is Boilermaker Basketball from Learfield.
He's a key for them, obviously, focus on their offense. Oh, they moved the ball so well.
First from the corner, knocks down a 3. Caleb First. Braden Smith, shot fake to Edey, throws it down.
Hey, why not give it up? Smith's been so good for them. Take a look right here. Drive, look at a good pump fake. See the fake? And then the little dish, the little hand. Tough to be better than 22-1.
Cruising with the reverse, Edey. And then First with the follow after the initial reverse wouldn't go for Smith. 4 to shoot. Smith gives it up. From the baseline, knocking it down with 1 on the shot clock is Ethan Morton.
They were humiliated, embarrassed by the Jayhawks.
Edey inside, throws it down.
Trent Jackson says, Davis, try this one, Mr. Edey. Up and up, man. These 2 guys can play. See, great ends.
Through traffic and 1 for Edey. And Edey in the post. Muscles his way to the goal and uses the window.
What a second-half performance he's putting on.
Uchafina blocked by Edey. Shut down at the rim.
Can't challenge him around the basket.
Gillis scoops and finishes.
Here's Mr. Edey. Said, no, you're not coming out here. You're not coming here, diaper dandy. Get it out of here, Jordan. Throw those people out, man. We don't need them in the building. Anybody throws something on that floor, it's so dangerous. What a nice drive.
The follow by Edey off the miss by Braden Smith.
Smith makes the great drive. Every possession so big here.
Galloway blocked by Edey. Offensive rebound race. Thompson. They lost it.
Purdue Global is Purdue's accredited and affordable online solution for working adults. Persistence pays off at Purdue Global. Welcome, everyone, to Walk-Ons. Tonight, here we are in the Purdue Memorial Union, where you normally find us on Monday nights during the basketball season. It's the Matt Painter Radio Show. Again, thank you so much for making us a part of your Monday. The phone number to call in and visit with Coach tonight is 1-888-246-2678. And with that, we will go back to the phone lines. Chuck is calling from Indianapolis. Chuck, welcome to the show. You're on with Coach.
Thank you for taking my call, and thank you again to Coach and the staff and the players for all their hard work. One comment and one question. Looked like our double teams and rotations have been really effective maybe the last 2 or 3 games, and then struggled a little bit with both of those on Saturday. The question is this. I'm a part of the Old Man Gray Hairs Club, right? So back in the day, we would play basketball in the summertime in the parks and in the rec leagues. Obviously, today it's AAU. I'm just curious from your perspective, what's the upsides to AAU and what are the downsides to AAU?
The one thing that you can see more in AAU, you can see guys play more because of the system is set up that way, and you can see them play against better players. But the thing that's the downside with it is you evaluate out of structure and you play in structure. So when you see us play, like, that's structure for the most part. When you see them play, they don't practice very much. So when you have 10 guys on your team and they're all spread out and they're from everywhere, it's hard to get those guys together in one setting unless they're going to tournaments and stuff. Now, some do it because they're a little bit closer. So when you get some of those local AAU teams, they're able to practice together. But when you get the high-end EYBL, Adidas circuit, whatever it might be, any collection of talent, normally it's not a collection of talent from just one area. So if you take the best team or teams in the state of Indiana, a lot of times, you'll have some people from Kentucky on an Indiana team. You can play on AAU teams from a neighboring state. So somebody from Ohio or Michigan or Illinois or Kentucky can play on an Indiana team. So it's really hard, for that. They get a lot of exposure. They talk about it. So you can see, like, the talent from a guy. You can see how fast somebody is, how they can jump, how they can do different things, how they compete against other players. But, once again, it's not structure. I go out a lot during the season, so I watch a lot. So I'll be out tomorrow. We'll play Thursday. I'll be out Friday. I'll be out Saturday, and then we'll play Sunday. So I'll recruit 3 times this week. And it's a little much, to be frank with you, but I want to see it with my own 2 eyes. I want to look at them when, they're the man, so to speak. I want to look at them with their high school team. I want to see how people look at them. I want to see how people treat them. I want to see how they treat other people. I like watching people in warm-ups. And so I like checking out everybody else kind of around that person to see how they react to each other, if that makes any sense. I like going into the schools and talking to a lot of different people that don't have any biases towards it, just to kind of figure out, are they a good guy? Are they hardworking? Are they passionate about basketball? Do they care about their teammates? Because it's a team sport. You have to be good, but you're not going to be great by yourself. You're only going to be great with your teammates and how you play and do those things. And that's a learned habit. And if you're not doing that before you get here, that's tough to unravel sometimes. And that's why you see a lot of people fail, because now it starts over, right? Even though you're ranked 30th in the country, you still got to come and fit within a team. And if you can be the best player right away, then God bless you. That's great. But that's rare. That's very rare. And you got to figure out how to guard people. You got to figure out how to actually pass when people are on you. That's why I love people that can pass. You find selfless people that like to pass. You just do. It's just a great trait in basketball, and it's just a healthy trait that helps you win, because now people are pulling for each other and they're passing the basketball to each other.
Chuck, great call, great question. Speaking of great players, I failed to mention this off the top of the show. I don't want to forget it. Zach Edey earlier today was named Big Ten Player of the Week yet again, 6th time. Count it, 6 times. Zach has been named the Big Ten Player of the Week, and that equals a Purdue all-time record for most times in a season being named Player of the Year, Player of the Week, I should say, in the Big Ten. Caleb Swanigan, Biggie, was also named Player of the Week 6 times in his Purdue career. So congratulations to Zach Edey. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll go back to the phones. This is the Purdue Global Sports Network, and this is Boilermaker Basketball from Learfield.
I see the work every day, and he's the epitome of just doing your job.
There's an open look in the corner, and down it goes for Mason Gillis.
Oh, mama! Mason Gillis! Those nights right now where everything seems to be going his way.
Gillis, goodness, and the night, Mason Gillis. Mason Gillis on a personal 11-0 run right now.
Mason Gillis! He just knocked down another three-point ball.
Gillis will shoot another 3.
He'll make another 3. Mason Gillis, 9 3-point buckets in the game. That's a Mackey Arena record.
Gonzo Martin, Ryan Smith, myself, sorry about you. Mason Gillis coming through. That's your new Mackey Arena record holder.
Ryan Walters will take over as head man in West Lafayette.
This is a great one.
This is not just any defensive coordinator, because Ryan Walters has been a rising star in this industry.
An absolute star in the coaching ranks. I knew this guy since he was a young cat, and I can tell you, no one will work harder.
There's a job to do, and this is what I want to do. But right now, I'm excited. I'm fired up. There's work to be done. So if there's work to be done, I'm going to be working.
Better time to be a Boilermaker. No, there's not. No, his time is now.
I need some bread. Been trapping for 2 days. If you rockin' with the ops, we gotta win the block. Got my cook in the DR, but I got on Gucci socks. Drip too.
Braden Smith, shot fake to Edey, throws it down.
Hey, why not give it up? Smith's been so good for them. It doesn't happen by accident, people.
There's the first time that Edey's been able to set up. Uchafino, blocked by Edey.
Said, no, you're not coming out here. You're not coming here, diaper dandy. Get it out of here.
Welcome back to the Matt Painter Show, presented by GEMCO. Live tonight at Walk-Ons in the Purdue Memorial Union, where it's always game day with a taste of Louisiana. GEMCO Constructors is supporting your Boilermakers as the presenting sponsor of the Matt Painter Show and proud partner of Purdue Athletics. GEMCO Constructors, boiler up. Back to the phones we go. Again, 1-888-246-2678. TD is calling in from Houston. TD, welcome to the show. You're on with Coach Painter.
Hello, Coach. Thanks for taking my call. I have two questions this time. Despite your second loss of the season, the team is tracking or projecting to reach its team's goals. How do you keep the players focused, considering they have competing priorities, such as going to class, interviews with the press, social media, NIL, and their respective personal lives? And then two, it is my understanding that several of the players come to you for feedback regarding their game performance. Is that something prevalent with this team? And I'll hang up and listen. Thank you.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that goes on. I don't think people realize the sacrifices always that players have. I think you get a portion of people that think they get preferential treatment, but the sacrifices that they have to make to be good and the time that they have to put in, you know, that's why in the recruiting, kind of from the last call, like you got to find people that's their passion, because it's going to get hard, it's going to get difficult. And also from a priority standpoint, like, you know, you have your religion, you have your family, you have academics, you have basketball, then you have your social life. And I always say if your social life leapfrogs any of the first 3 to 4, you're probably in trouble. You know, if that's going to, you know, wag the tail and you're going to lead yourself through that, whether that's a girl, whether that's drinking, whatever it might be. So you got to find guys, you know, guys aren't going to be perfect and guys are going to make mistakes, but you got to have a little moderation from a social standpoint, because it's so hard from academics to basketball and the proper sleep you have to get, you know, eat right, take care of yourself. All those things matter. All those things can really, really help you. So like that's your focus, but it leads back to the recruiting of finding the right guy and them already having that kind of a focus. Now you can just kind of grow that. And, you know, if you get someone that doesn't have that, man, that's hard. That's hard. You know, we're all kind of set in a way. You can make changes. You know, I always say speeches don't work at that point. You know, your habits are your habits. Now can you change some things? And then, you know, Bill Belichick talks about when you come into the Patriots, you know, they don't become you, you become them. So, like, I don't care how good of a player you are. You know, Randy Moss, whatever, like, doesn't matter. Like, you become part of the Patriot family, and that's just the way it is. And we've really done a good job. Our staff has done a good job of building our culture. We always are giving feedback, to your second question, to our players, and you try to do it in a constructive manner. And I'm normally pretty constructive with that, unless somebody's not trying to do what we ask them to do. And we talk about the sacrifices you have to make on a team. Everybody has to sacrifice. I don't care who you are. Everybody has to sacrifice to help us win. But just trying to be honest, I think you can be honest and constructive, you know, without belittling people or putting them down. Now there's some times when collectively, you know, we're not doing what we're supposed to, and you got to keep people on edge and get them to play a little bit harder, get them to play a little bit smarter. But for the most part, you know, your feedback is the tape, is watching the tape, because that's not going to lie. And you could say, like, hey, this is what we decided to do. You know, you didn't quite do what we decided to do, or you tried to do it, but you just failed. And that's where you got to be positive and encourage guys, because they're trying to do what you're asking them to do. Now, if they're not, and they don't play hard enough, or they, you know, they have breakdowns, if they've had success doing something and then all of a sudden they're not, because they're not doing what they did before, that's a problem. When they're continuing to do what you ask them to do, they're just not quite getting the job done, you just got to stay with it. But that feedback, we do a lot of individual tape. So you sit in a room, you have a coach with you, you watch tape and you see things, and you just work things out. Now you see if they can take that and now, make a change. And if they can't, then that, you got to meet with them again, obviously. But if that keeps happening, the light's not on. It's not clicking. Either, whether it's can or won't, it's an old Joe Tiller line. Can't and won't's the same result. You got somebody with the physical ability to do it, and they don't get the job done, then you'll get somebody maybe that physically quite isn't ready to do the job. That's different. That is different. He can't do it. The other guy can, he won't do it. And that person's dangerous. And so like when you have someone who has the physical ability to do something and they refuse to do it for whatever reason, that's not going to work. That's never going to work. So that's really, really important. Everybody's probably nodding their head because they probably know people that are just like overly intelligent and they got a lot of gifts, but yet they kind of go in and around things instead of taking care of business. Then you got somebody else who's not very talented, not very gifts, but they're always on time, they always work hard, and you can trust them. I'll take that second group. I know we might not be as talented, but I'll take that second group because they're always going to show up and give you their best effort, and they're always going to try to do what you ask them to do, and that's what normally ends up winning.
TD, thank you for that phone call. Time now for our Pro Boilers feature, where we take a look at how a former Purdue student athlete is doing in their professional sports career. Pro Boilers is presented by Indiana Kitchen Premium Pork Products. Get to know us at indianakitchen.com. Both our Pro Boilers and Indiana Kitchen are boiler made. I actually I wanted to mention this a couple of weeks ago when I saw it pop up on social media, and I just didn't get around to it, so I want to make sure I mention it tonight. Josh Lindblom, the former Purdue Boilermaker baseball player, local product, announced his retirement from Big League Baseball back on January the 12th. What a career for Josh Lindblom. Drafted by the Dodgers in the second round out of Purdue back in 2008. Made it up to the Bigs in 2011. And ended up playing for 6 different Major League Baseball teams. Also played in the Korean Baseball Organization. Was actually named MVP of that league a couple of times. So just a tip of the cap to Josh Lindblom, one of the all-time Purdue greats when it comes to baseball, and had a heck of a run in big league ball as well. More with Coach Painter when we come back. This is the Matt Painter Show presented by GEMCO on the Purdue Global Sports Network. This is Boilermaker Basketball from Learfield.
So here we are. Super Bowl champions are born here. This wall commemorates, all of the former Purdue players that have played in the Super Bowl. You know a little bit about this. I know nothing about this. I never got the opportunity to play in the Super Bowl. Never could get past the Dallas Cowboys. That 93-94, Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, they just handed it to us. I'm just being honest. But tell me about that experience. And how did Purdue help you, as a leader of the Saints, 2006, get to that point, and just a little bit about that season?
Yeah. Well, I think I speak for all the guys that are listed up here as Super Bowl champions in saying that Purdue sharpened us, Purdue molded us, Purdue gave us opportunities to develop our confidence and develop our skill, and to see what a winning program looks like, and to see what a winning team and a winning culture looks like. And that's what we had here, and that's what we were then able to go and impart on the teams that we played at in the NFL. A lot of, I think, the expectation level that you have and your leadership qualities and abilities carry forward from learned here. I can certainly say that, and I know a lot of these guys will as well. I played with a lot of these guys. And this is a testament to not just what these guys meant to this program here at Purdue, but what they then went on to accomplish based on, I think, the knowledge, experience, and wisdom that they garnered from here. And all these guys I see come back to Purdue and contribute still so much, not just to the football program, but to the university. And I think it says a lot about the way that they feel about how this experience here at Purdue contributed to that success.
Hey, everyone needs a little playing time, so before a Purdue basketball game or anytime throughout the week, stop by Walk-Ons here in the Purdue Memorial Union, where it's always game day with a taste of Louisiana. Another great crowd on hand tonight here at Walk-Ons. Thank you, everyone, so much that decided to join us live tonight here at Walk-Ons. Coach Painter's taking your phone calls as we go back to the phones, and we welcome Alex from Indianapolis calling in. Alex, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for taking my call. I actually had a question about defense, specifically guarding Trace Jackson-Davis. Obviously, he's a really gifted and talented player, but I have noticed that he isn't as successful going to his right.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just wondering if when you plan for those double teams like we do in the post all the time, how intricate that gets. Like, do you want guys to double on that side that pushes him to that right shoulder? Or how does, what all goes into that decision? And then also just overall the decision of forcing him right, even if he does get a one-on-one touch.
Right.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Yeah, good, really good question. The thing with guys that are really fast and athletic, you can force them one way, but they're going to get back to the other way. What you don't want is that initial thrust where he quicks you. So he gets big people, and he really uses his athleticism and his quickness with that first step. So we try to go big to big. Anytime he's deep, we go big to big. On three different occasions in the game, we had somebody either get split or leave the double. Like, you don't leave the double until he passes it. And he split us one time. They get a three because of it. He goes the other time, and we had a guy come baseline that wasn't a big, but when they throw it over the top, whoever's low man's got to go. And then we have him boxed in, and they back up off of him a little bit, and he's really creative and slippery and, strong, and, he got in between there. And I think one time we fouled him, and I forget what happened the other time, but it was just a breakdown. But, yeah, when he's on that side and he's in the middle, what he'll do is he'll post up out. And if you run your big, that's a long way to go for a rotation then once he gets out of it, and that they'll kind of expose you, and they'll get layups, or they'll get skip threes right then. Once he starts dribbling and attacking, we were coming with our guard, and our guard just wasn't close enough at times. And we really drilled on, you got to be closer, you got to be there, and then you got to be able to go once he dribbles. So now when he dribbles, you're going to have some time as that ball comes back up to him before he can pass, and now you're in an early rotation. We just had too many breakdowns there where he split us over a lack of awareness. A couple times our guys were aware. He just got there before we did. You obviously don't want to foul him, and you want him to you want him to shoot post moves is what you really want, but you don't want him to get to the middle with that left hand and that right shoulder like you were talking about. Like, you absolutely want to keep him there and keep him on that side, but that's easier said than done. And we've had some success against him. Obviously, we didn't have as much there. We went back and forth, who to start him on and who to put on him. You can go there with Zach right away if you want. I'd rather protect Zach a little bit. He's still got, 2 fouls with the first foul just being a terrible call on a flop, that they put 2 hands in his back, they push him, then they flop. And so I think we played it right in theory on that, but we just had to be better in those double teams. 5 or 6 of those things, we just absolutely blew the coverage, and you got to be there. Our big to big was pretty good, when it presented itself, but he gets so many on dribble downs, and he gets so many out there catching at 17, 18 feet that you got to be aware as that guard. We got in there and digged a couple out, got a couple steals that way, had a couple deflections, but for the most part, a couple times he just physically dominated us, just dunked over us. And, you got to hold your ground. Once again, easier said than done. He's a great player.
Thank you for that phone call, Alex. This is the Matt Painter Show presented by GEMCO on the Purdue Global Sports Network. We're back after this. This is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield.
Purdue's not going to know. I'm not sure Penn State's going to know, but they're going to mix it up.
Well, Edey kept that possession alive. Morton misses, but Caleb first did not. They were pounding Edey. He gets another touch. Here comes the double. No whistle. Well, there is a whistle, and it's a defensive foul. Count the bucket.
Caliber a shooter that he is. I thought of him 5 or 6.
Great anticipation, Smith. And the finish.
See him down there by that left block, and he's just going to make a play on the ball and understands Lundy's coming.
Zach Edey hasn't put up a shot in 11 minutes of game action. Hard to believe. There is Gillis with another three. He already has a career-high 15.
Well, Penn State has shown so much attention to Zach Edey. Gillis, I am letting this thing fly immediately.
Everybody in this building wants one thing. Well, I guess that'll work.
That will do.
And Purdue's defense focused so much on their offense, which is so spectacular, but their defense is also top 20 in the country. Kaufman-Wren lays it in.
No, he certainly is, and he's been a very good player in his time here in West Lafayette. Is one of those guys that has definitely sacrificed for the betterment of the team. My goodness.
And it's truly not out of the question, Rob, that he could return for next season.
He could. He totally could. Now, I don't see how he does not play in the NBA.
There's the Mackey record, 9 threes for Gillis. Well, and when a guy's putting on a performance like this, they appreciate it.
It is a terrific performance. Conzo Martin, Ryan Smith, myself, sorry about you. Mason Gillis coming through. He has been unconscious. That's your new Mackey Arena record holder. Regardless, the night he's having.
Instead, Edey throws it away. Winner. Blocked by
GEMCO Constructors is supporting your Boilermakers as the presenting sponsor of this Matt Painter Show. They're a proud partner of Purdue Athletics. GEMCO Constructors says boiler up. And this is the Matt Painter Show, live tonight at Walk-Ons here in the Purdue Memorial Union, where it's always game day with a taste of Louisiana. Back to the phones we go. Carson is checking in from South Carolina. Carson, welcome to the show. You're on with Coach Painter.
Hey, Coach. Thanks for taking my call. Always love getting to sit and listen to your brilliant mind work. I have a whole notebook of your infamous if you ever get your own team. So trying to pick your mind a little bit more. You always talk about being process-based versus being result-based.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of wondering, like, your philosophy on that, and then what that looks like after a win, and then what that looks like kind of after a loss.
Yeah.
Thanks again, and I look forward to listening.
Yeah, it's not a whole lot different after a win versus a loss in terms of doing your job, because we're going to talk about things when you don't do your job, and we're going to talk about things when you do your job. And that needs to be heard. A lot of times, especially when you're younger, you only hear the negative. You only hear, things that are derogatory. But they got to be able to hear it when they do what they're supposed to do. So that positive reinforcement is important. So, it just gets discussed, and so we watch team clips. They watch individual clips. So like today, we watched the Indiana game, and almost everybody had watched it before, but we go through and we just clip it. So we clip, each possession and the good, bad, and the indifferent for each individual guy. And then we kind of pick out some team things that we need to talk about to encourage the positive things. And so just being process-based is really doing your job and doing what you're supposed to do. You're going to have reads in basketball, especially if the ball's in your hands. But as you go on, what you run, the plays that you run, the things that you do, the rules that you have defensively. I mean, you gotta play hard. You got to play together. You got to have an edge to you. But you have to be able to do your job. And that's really being process-based. And, you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't know, then you're probably not going to play if you have a team. And you're just not ready yet. And so, like, sometimes guys will get there. We're not in the business of taking bad basketball players, all right? So, like, right away I make sure that they know that. If you couldn't play basketball, you wouldn't be in this room. Like, this isn't the chili supper. Like, you're a good basketball player, but you got to believe in yourself, but you also you got to knock out outside noise. And just because your uncle's got the ESPN package doesn't make him a genius. And you have to understand that. And just because you are a good basketball player yourself and now you're helping somebody, you're not in our practice every day. And that's what gets out because people watch your games and then they have a basketball background, but they're not there, so they add their 2 cents and they say things. Well, that's confusing to young people. It just is, because I'm for them. But I'm not for them over Purdue. And that's what ends up happening a lot. You're like, oh, you're not for me. You took me out. And I said, no, I put somebody back in, and I got to make decisions that I think is going to help Purdue win. And sometimes that's going to go against you. You got to be professional enough to understand that and keep battling. And if you don't like it, then separate yourself from somebody. Like, learn through competition just to kick somebody every day. Like, every single day. There's nobody that just dominates practice competitively that I don't play. It just doesn't happen. So there's a lot of built-in excuses that people have why they don't be successful, but winners don't have that. Winners, like, admit things. Braden Smith's got a really good quality about him for a young guy. Whenever things go wrong, he accepts it. I think that's my bad, man. That's my bad. I mean, God dang, like he owns it right away. And if you own things, you fix things. And that's what winning people do. But you got to be able to take constructive criticism. You got to be able to listen. And when you can do those things, it doesn't mean it's the end-all, be-all. It just means we're all going to stay together and we're all going to stay connected. So when you lose a game, you got a chance to actually grow at that time and be better because of it, because you're bought into things and you're listening and you're trying. If you don't and you do that, that's where you see a lot of teams will fragment, especially at this time. When you get into February, nobody plateaus out. You either go up or you go down. And we just got to keep working, and I feel we got a group that can keep going up.
Garson, thanks. Great phone call there. More with Coach Painter when we come back here on the Coach Painter Show, brought to you by GEMCO on the Purdue Global Sports Network. This is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield.
He's a key for them, obviously, focused on their offense. Oh, they moved the ball so well.
First from the corner, knocks down a three. Caleb First. Braden Smith, shot fake to Edey, throws it down.
Hey, why not give it up? Smith's been so good for them. Take a look right here. Drive, look at a good punt fake. See the fake? And then the little dish, the little hand. Tough to be better than 22-1.
Cruising with the reverse, Edey. And then First with the follow after the initial reverse wouldn't go for Smith. 4 to shoot. Smith gives it up from the baseline. Knocking it down with 1 on the shot clock is Ethan Morton.
They were humiliated, embarrassed by the Jayhawks.
Edey inside, throws it down.
Trent Jackson says, Davis, try this one, Mr. Edey. Up and up, man. These two guys can play. See, great hands.
Through traffic and 1 for Edey. And Edey in the post. Muscles his way to the goal and uses the window.
What a second-half performance he's putting on.
Uchafina blocked by Edey. Shut down at the rim.
Can't challenge him around the basket.
Gillis scoops and finishes.
Here's Mr. Edey. Said, no, you're not coming out here. You're not coming here, diaper dandy. Get it out of here, Jordan. Throw those people out, man. We don't need them in the building. Anybody throws something on that floor, it's so dangerous. What a nice drive.
The follow by Edey off the miss by Braden Smith.
Smith makes the great drive. Every possession so big here.
Galloway blocked by Edey. Offensive rebound race. Thompson, but he lost it.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Matt Painter Show. We are live tonight at Walk-Ons. Everyone needs a little playing time, so before a Purdue basketball game or any time throughout the week, stop by Walk-Ons here in the Purdue Memorial Union, where it's always game day with a taste of Louisiana. Our next question from the coach comes from right here in our live in-studio audience, or in-restaurant audience. Comes from Annie. Coach, Annie wants to know about unbalanced Big Ten schedules, fair or unfair, and more importantly, the amount of two-day preps that we often have, especially once we get into the Big Ten season, trying to get ready for that next opponent. That's not a lot of time.
Yeah. Right now, the Indiana game was 4 games without a day off. So when you get to the end of that, like, a lot of coaches will look at it and say, man, if we could win 3 out of 4 there, that would be great. But you don't feel that way if you win the first 3. You want to win that 4th one. So, but coaches are greedy, very similar to fans. We want to win them all. But it matters. You have to be smart about where they are, what time of the year, like what time you really started the season. If you look back and you take a step back and You know, I had an old coach say to me one time, like, if you feel tired, what the heck do you think they feel like? They're the ones actually playing. Because you'll be as a coach and you'll be like, man, I'm tired. You'll be like, well, you're not lifting, you're not running, you're just standing there barking orders, and you got to have a feel for how they feel. I didn't mean to be redundant right there, but I was. And you have to keep that in perspective. And so when we play those early games, like those Saturday at noon or Sunday at 1 type games, we just treat the day before as a shoot around, and then we don't shoot around the day of the game then for those early ones. So we went 4 games without a day off, and so now we don't play till Thursday. So we took Sunday off. We take Monday off. So I think once you get deep into the season, we don't need 3 days in a row to practice before a game. We need 2 at this point. And so if it goes Sunday, Wednesday, you got that quick turnaround. You know, that's kind of par for the course. And then if you go like Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, like that's a cluster. It's a 3-game cluster. But if you go Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday, that's a 4-game cluster. We were just on a 4-game cluster. Now it stops because we were able to have a day off and actually have 2 days off. So that piece of it, really helps. It really helps for those guys, but you got to get them back on edge and get going, in practice. Sometimes when you have a little bit of time off, they're a little rusty. You normally get it corrected by the end of that practice, but if not, you definitely got to get it corrected, by that second practice, because you can do a lot of right things, but if you don't compete and you don't play hard, you're not on edge, that competitive piece is so important.
And by the way, Purdue now about to have a 2-week stretch here where Purdue plays Thursday, Sunday, Thursday, Sunday. And it begins this Thursday with Iowa. Coach, in about 30 seconds or so here, I cannot cut you loose tonight without asking you about the effort from Mason Gillis in that game Wednesday night against Penn State. One of the all-time great games from a Purdue Boilermaker. 9 made threes in that game, 29 points. That was an incredible effort.
It was big time, and they were really – the first time we played, Zach kind of had his way with Penn State. And so, like, now they were going to do some different things. And with that, the doubles really weren't that bad once again. But the rotations get tough for them. And in that rotation, someone's going to get left open, and he got left open a lot. That wasn't who they want, I promise you. Micah Shrewsbury coached Mason Gillis. Like, he has seen the work that he's put in every day. Every day, man. He puts in time on his shot. And it's hard. Like, you don't get a lot of things run for him. We've probably ran more stuff for him this year. You play off of Zach Edey. He gets the ball a lot, rightfully so. And sometimes you have to be opportunistic. And, he got in one of those grooves and he just kept going. But it was great to see, and I was happy for him.
9 of 12 from the three-point line was Mason Gillis. Our final segment of the Matt Painter Show presented by GEMCO. When we come back, this is the Purdue Global Sports Network, and this is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield.
I see the work every day, and he's the epitome of just doing your job.
There's an open look in the corner, and down it goes for Mason Gillis.
Those nights right now where everything seems to be going his way.
Gillis, goodness, and the night, Mason Gillis. Mason Gillis on a personal 11-0 run right now.
Mason Gillis! He just knocked down another three-point ball.
Gillis will shoot another three. He'll make another three. Mason Gillis, 9 3-point buckets in the game. That's a Mackey Arena record.
Gonzo Martin, Ryan Smith, myself, sorry about you. Mason Gillis coming through. That's your new Mackey Arena record holder.
Ryan Walters will take over as head man in West Lafayette.
This is a great one.
This is not just any defensive coordinator, because Ryan Walters has been a rising star in this industry.
An absolute star in the coaching ranks. I knew this guy since he was a young cat, and I can tell you, no one will work harder.
There's a job to do, and this is what I want to do. But right now, I'm excited. I'm fired up. There's work to be done. So if there's work to be done, I'm going to be working.
Better time to be a Boilermaker. No, there's not. No, time is now.
I need some bread. Been trapping for 2 days. If you rockin' with the ops, we gotta win the block. Got my cook in the DR, but I got on Gucci socks.
Braden Smith, shot fake. 2
throws it down.
Hey, why not give it up? Smith's been so good for them. It doesn't happen by accident, people.
There's the first time that Edey's been able to set up. Uchapina blocked by Edey.
Said, no, you're not coming out here. You're not coming here, diaper dandy. Get it out of here.
Here we go, everyone. Final segment of the Matt Painter Radio Show. Again, thanks for joining us tonight live at Walk-Ons. You know, fans, I'm very pleased, very, very pleased this evening, because I think I can now honestly say that my Nuggets segment, which is always the final segment of the show, it has arrived. How do I know it has arrived? Because earlier this weekend, I had not one, but actually two people reach out to me with nuggets that I should use tonight on the show. So I like that very much, number one, and I know that maybe this segment of the show has actually arrived. And number two, now I don't have to do any of the work. So that's great. I can get back to taking my Monday afternoon naps. So this nugget goes, it comes to us from Drew Rudman. You can follow Drew on Twitter at lowflyer747, lowflyer747. He lets me know that the last two times that Indiana beat the number one team in the country at Assembly Hall, those teams, those two number one ranked teams, went on to not only have the National Player of the Year on their team, but also play for the national championship that year. We go back to February 2nd, 2013. Michigan, number one in the country. They go to Assembly Hall and lose 81-73. Trey Burke that year, who had 25 points in the game, by the way, Trey was named the National Player of the Year. Also, that year, Michigan made it all the way to the national championship game. They lost to Louisville, but they made it. And you might remember in that game, Trey Burke was in early foul trouble, so they had to bring in some youngster named Spike Albrecht. Remember him, the former Boilermaker? Spike had 17 first-half points in that game, by the way. And then the other time it happened, the last two I mentioned, the other time was December the 10th, 2011, when Kentucky was ranked number one in the country. They went to Assembly Hall, and they lost 73-72. But that season, Anthony Davis was named the National Player of the Year for Kentucky. And if you remember, Kentucky got their revenge in the Sweet 16 when they beat Indiana to advance on and eventually win the national championship. Kentucky won the national title that year when they beat Kansas in the national championship game. So, Drew, thank you for that nugget. Please, fans, keep the nuggets coming, again, because that means I don't have to do the work, and I am very appreciative of that. Big thank you to Austin Wolkin. He was our in-studio engineer tonight. Huge thank you to Wes Scott, who our audio engineer on site. Thanks to all of you who, again, a full house tonight at Walk-Ons again, so thank you, everyone. We'll be back here next Monday night for the Coaches Show, but two games this week, 7 o'clock Thursday night, Purdue hosting Iowa, and then on the road Super Bowl Sunday, 2 o'clock, right? Yeah, 2 o'clock Sunday, Purdue at Northwestern. Have a great rest of your week, everyone. We'll talk to you Thursday night when the Boilermakers play the Iowa Hawkeyes. Have a great week, everyone.